The National Security Agency, or NSA, is, as the name suggests, responsible for keeping national security, with their motto being defending our nation, securing the future. Their main task is data processing, surveillance, and counterintelligence. But in keeping vital information to themselves, and even exploiting it, they are the reason behind the most devastating cyber attack in history. Wannacry, NotPetya, both combined they caused roughly $20 billion worth of damages. Even though Russia and North Korea are the ones directly responsible and blamed for these attacks, they wouldn't have been possible without EternalBlue, NSA's computer worm that they kept hidden for 5 years, and once it leaked, they did nothing to stop the chaos. Since apparently the National Security Agency has no problem sacrificing your security in order to have a weapon. So let me show you the whole picture. How NSA's previous failures made them become the careless, information-hungry entity they are today. Now, does that story sound interesting to you? I hope so, because I'm about to tell you all about it. But first, would you mind hitting a like and a sub for the algorithm? Did you do it? Thank you. The NSA's story begins during World War II, a time where information proved critical to winning battles. You could spend billions on manufacturing the best weapons and training the most elite troops, or you could simply intercept enemy communications, uncover their plans, and counter them perfectly. But there was a catch. Enemy communications were always encrypted. The Germans relied on the... I'm scared of pronouncing that code. Well, the Japanese used the purple cipher. Breaking these codes was no easy feat. Polish mathematicians cracked the Enigma code first, giving their allies a head start. Then Alan Turing and the Brits expanded the deciphering, building machines to decrypt German messages at scale. Meanwhile, in the US, the Signal Intelligence Service, or SIS, was the precursor to the NSA. They were formed to tackle Japan's encryption, the purple cipher. The SIS was a collection of the brightest minds in cryptography, and William Frederick Friedman is credited with finally breaking the purple cipher. So the SIS did their job and all went great, right?
No.
On December 6, 1941, SIS decrypted a Japanese message, one that instructed their embassy in Washington to break off negotiations at a precise time, the same time that the attack on Pearl Harbor was launched. The message was intercepted, but because of SIS's small size and disorganization, it wasn't processed fast enough to warn Pearl Harbor. US officials never wanted to fumble this badly again, so they decided to focus a lot more on counterintelligence. And of course, they dropped 2 sons on Japan for good measure. The US created the Armed Forces Security Agency, AFSA, in 1949 to centralize code breaking. But guess what? AFSA was once again too small to handle all the new shit going on in the world, like the start of the Cold War and North Korea's invasion of South Korea. President Harry S. Truman saw this dumpster fire and whispered, fuck it. In 1959, AFSA was secretly replaced with the NSA, a civilian agency with one mission: know everything about everyone before they even know it themselves.
If you're wondering, I already know. If you thought it, I've been new.
The AFSA had a budget of around $750 million, where the NSA got a massive 10 times increase at $10 billion to spend annually. That's not even counting all the hush-hush money they were given for any top secret operations. Now, during the Cold War, a whole lot of shit happens that I won't even begin to unpack, since that could take hours. So all you need to know for now is that even though the CIA are often portrayed as these James Bond spies during the Cold War, the US actually relied on the NSA a lot more, letting them do whatever they want and collect as much information as possible, since they were still scarred by their failures to see the attack on Pearl Harbor and North Korea's invasion. We're going to skip most of the Cold War all the way to the 1990s, which marks the start of the modern NSA. But first, you might have caught me calling the NSA a civilian agency, which is legally true, but that's only for bureaucratic reasons. They do spy on other countries' economies and militaries, and are under both the Department of Justice and the Department of Defense, so the term civilian agency only means that you don't have to be an active military to work for the NSA. You're still gonna be under 20 different NDAs and legal agreements though. But I guess that comes with the job. Alright, the 90s.
Know.
What is internet anyway?
Oh, that's
that little
right.
mark with the A and then the ring around it?
At
See, that's what I said.
As technology advanced, the NSA faced a new frontier, the internet.
Allison, can you explain what internet is?
No, she can't say anything in 10 seconds or less.
With more and more information being stored on the web and cyber threats becoming more common, the NSA needed a team to protect their files and spy on others. So around the year 2000, the NSA formed a Tailored Access Operations Unit. Not a lot of detailed information about the TAO exists, as obviously they are very secretive. So for my own legal disclaimer here, all of the information from here on out will be either from leaks like the Edward Snowden Expo, or unconfirmed speculative informations and statements that are not meant to be taken as an allegation towards anyone. Please don't sue me. Alright, let's get back to the video. The Tailored Access Operation Division isn't your average IT support that can't figure out why your printer isn't working. They're a team of skilled hackers, engineers, and intelligence analysts. People who can infiltrate even the most secure networks, as in 2007, Tao trolled the entire world by breaching thousands of systems worldwide, giving the NSA unparalleled access to foreign intelligence. Take that, China. The USA is the leader of meddling in other countries. Tao are the experts of cyber espionage, the golden standard of cybersecurity.
So how the hell did their info get leaked and turned into one of the most devastating hacks of all time?
Don't worry, we will get into how it happened, but first we must establish what exactly got leaked. Through all the years of cyber espionage, Tao developed a library of exploits, targeting software vulnerabilities, stockpiling them as weapons for future operations. We have no idea to this day how many exploits they have in their library, as we only know of the ones that got leaked, EternalBlue being the most well-known one. EternalBlue is not a virus by itself, it's only a part of a toolkit that the NSA developed. There are 4 main programs in the Eternal series: EternalBlue, Eternal Champion, Eternal Romance, and Eternal Synergy. The cool names end here, as the rest of the exploits have pretty goofy names like Jetplow, Oddjob, or Bananagly. So here we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to play everyone's favorite game. Is this a real name? I'll give you 4 possible virus names and only one will be real. You must correctly guess which one is the real name. Please comment your answers down below, as yes, this game is just a cheap way to get user interaction under this video. Are you ready? Which one is real? Is it A. Down Tango, B. Second Date, C. Buzzy Bee, D. Velo? Take your time to write your answer down below, as I take this time to place an ad here. Welcome back. Now, if you selected the answer D, D-Lo Taper fade meme is still massive, but the correct answer was B, Second Date. Thank you all for playing, back to your regularly scheduled programming. But what exactly is EternalBlue? EternalBlue was a zero-day exploit developed by the NSA to target a critical vulnerability in Windows' SMB protocol, a system used for file sharing between computers on the same network. Now, the only term I want you to understand here is zero-day. It describes a vulnerability that the vendor themselves don't know about. Vulnerabilities like this happen because coding something as complex as an operating system has tons of moving parts, so it's very hard to see how one particular line of code might react to unexpected commands. What this also means is that the NSA, with its hundreds of security analysts, combed through this code, saw this vulnerability, and instead of notifying Microsoft, telling them to patch it, in case someone tries to exploit it, they decided to exploit it. Now, before we move on to the leak itself, I'll tell you how EternalBlue worked. This will be pretty nerdy, but I will try and explain as simply and as clearly as I can. EternalBlue exploited a vulnerability in Windows Server message block. Specifically, it targeted the code labeled as CVE 2017-0144, a flaw in the protocol's handling of data packets. Here is the technical breakdown. EternalBlue sent a malicious SMB request containing oversized data. This triggered a buffer overflow, or something that happens when excess data spills beyond the allocated memory, corrupting the system's memory layout. Usually it results in total request corruption, but through carefully crafting this overflow, EternalBlue overwrote critical memory addresses. Alright, so I understand that some of you might not have any idea about buffer overflow or any in-depth knowledge about tech. So here's a super simple explanation about the vulnerability and how it got exploited. If this is the memory of the computer, it has an allocated space for handling of requests, right? And anything beyond this is critical. The vulnerability was that there was no hard cap on how big the request could be. So, by EternalBlue sending a huge request, and a special one at that, it was able to overflow from the allocated memory and spill into the critical components part. By just spamming a huge request, it deleted some critical memory parts, one of them being the part of the PC that asks for permissions, just removing any security protocols that the computer can have. EternalBlue scanned the network to find other vulnerable machines. It then repeated the attack, spreading automatically without user interaction. The NSA paired EternalBlue with Double Pulsar, a kernel-level backdoor, which allowed silent, persistent access and data exfiltration. Now, if you put this entire toolkit together, you have a virus that once it takes control of one Windows system, it will instantly spread itself onto any Windows system on the network. And the best thing, since it's a zero-day, there was no patch for it. And what makes this so dangerous is that usually for a virus to take control of your PC, it requires user error. You need to download something that you weren't supposed to download. But in this case, if a hacker got onto your network, they could just run EternalBlue and infect your computer without you even knowing about it. The NSA gladly sacrificed your security in order to have a cool weapon, as once again, they knew about this exploit for years, they kept it for years, so in one of those years, something was bound to go wrong. So, to finally answer the question, how did EternalBlue leak? EternalBlue didn't just appear out of nowhere, it was stolen. The last thing the NSA wanted was for one of their weapons to fall into the wrong hands. But that's exactly what happened, all because of the Shadow Brokers, a mysterious hacking group that pulled off one of the most significant cyber leaks in history. Their story started in 2016, not on some shadowy corner of the dark web, but on Twitter. An account by the name @ShadowBrokers began posting cryptic messages, somewhat bragging about possessing hacking tools stolen from the Equation Group, a highly secretive black hat contractor believed to work for the NSA's Tailored Access Group. Just like in real war, when an army wants to do something possibly illegal, they will employ a PMC to do it for them. The same way in cyber war, when Tau doesn't want to be associated with a cyber attack, they will employ a group of hackers to do it for them. That way the NSA's hands stay clean, as some other hacking group takes the blame. To this day, not much confirmed information exists about the Equation Group. So when some no-name hackers by the name of Shadow Brokers started bragging about stealing Equation Group's tools, they were met with a lot of skepticism. But the tweets kept coming, and soon the Shadow Brokers started leaking small samples of what they had. People in the cybersec community started paying attention, and by late 2016, most realized that the Shadow Brokers weren't bluffing. And in 2017, all the skeptics would be proven wrong, as on the news website Medium, the Shadow Brokers would post a massive leak dump titled Lost in Translation. All their previous leaks involved exploits and tools that were already used before, and more or less patched, meaning you couldn't make them into a virus. But in Lost in Translation, they posted tools that weren't used yet, and as you might guess, EternalBlue was one of those tools. Normally developing malware this damaging is a process that takes months or years. But this time, all of the hard work was already done. EternalBlue did all of the heavy lifting of infecting and controlling PCs, so all that's left for the other hackers to do was deciding, what do we do if the PC once they're infected? North Korea's Lazarus Group was the first to turn this toolset into a hack with the infamous Wannacry virus. Since you already know how EternalBlue was used to infect and take control of PCs, I only have to tell you what Wannacry added. After EternalBlue gained full control over the PC, Wannacry would lock their user out of their machine and hold their files hostage. To regain your files, it asked for roughly $300 in Bitcoin. That's why it's under the ransomware subclass of viruses, stealing your files and making you pay to get them back. But due to the Koreans' poor coding, there actually was no guarantee that you regain control of your files after paying this ransom. So most of the infected computers would have their files completely deleted. Even though the Wannacry part of the virus worked quite poorly, the EternalBlue infrastructure worked exactly as intended. If one PC on the network got infected, it would be a guarantee that the others did too. So if some doctor unknowingly installed a sketchy file on the hospital Wi-Fi, it would be the end for the entire hospital, as the virus instantly jumped across every machine. Which was what happened. UK's hospitals were hit the hardest, as 80 of them went down. Surgeries would get cancelled, patient records were unavailable, and ambulances had to be rerouted, and over 20,000 appointments would be cancelled. A lot of Europe and some parts of Asia were hit too, with the global damage being around $10 billion. But more importantly, hospitals reported around a 30% increase in mortality rates due to the virus attack. Worst of all of this could have been prevented. Roughly a week after the Shadow Brokers leak, Windows did release a patch fixing the exploit EternalBlue used, even releasing an emergency update for Windows XP, even though Windows XP lost its support years before this. But companies, and especially hospitals, are always hesitant with software updates, as they can cause huge compatibility issues for the tech relying on Windows. But this is exactly why it's all NSA's fault. After their exploit got leaked, they stayed radio silent. If Windows tells you to update your PC, you probably say, no. But if the NSA raised huge alarms telling everyone to update immediately as the consequences could be catastrophic, all of the damage could have been avoided. They developed this exploit. They kept it hidden for years. All of that could have been forgiven had they simply alarmed everyone and told them to update their computers. But they decided not to speak about it. And it worked. It worked as most people don't blame the NSA. They blame North Korea. Even though at its root, it's all the NSA's fault. From a business standpoint, they did great. They brought no attention to themselves, and technically the billions of dollars of damages aren't on them, since they weren't the ones to actually deploy the virus. But is that really the behavior you expect from the National Security Agency? Letting them stockpile weapons and not warning everyone when they get stolen? See, I would have called this a conspiracy, but I'd rather attribute it to something far worse: complacency. The US doesn't have centralized healthcare, as hospital infrastructure varies heavily from state to state, most of them not using Windows XP, and if they are, they're usually quite quick to apply updates, making them not in the danger zone of the virus. So the NSA didn't really care about fighting Wannacry. Instead, a kid from the UK had to clean up the mess that the NSA caused. His name was Marcus Hutchins, a 22-year-old British cybersecurity researcher. So how did he stop Wannacry? He purposely ran the virus in a safe environment to see how it worked. By doing that, he found a weird quirk in Wannacry's code.
I noticed it made a web request to an unregistered website, so I registered it. And as time went on, we noticed the infection count was steadily declining.
To this day, the exact reason for why Wannacry performed this domain check is unknown, but there are two main theories. The first is that the domain check was a kill switch, just in case the virus got out of control. And the second theory is that it was supposed to be a very, very stupid anti-NS mechanism. The people coding this assumed that if Wannacry was in a testing environment, the testing environment would return every single check as the answer yes. So they hard-coded the check that was supposed to have an answer of no. Obviously, that's not really how testing environments work. That's why it's a stupid check. If a skilled cybersec researcher was able to do this and stop Wannacry's attacks near instantly, you don't think that the NSA with its brilliant task force would have seen this too? They probably would have. But since it wasn't attacking the United States, the NSA had little reason to research Wannacry. And besides, if they did, it might have put more attention on them, and people have noticed they were the ones who brought this on the world. Besides, the Department of Homeland Security already issued a warning to the US businesses, so why should the NSA care? Oh, by the way, it gets worse. Another virus was made on the EternalBlue toolkit. A virus that was way more dangerous. And a virus that was a targeted attack by Russia on the Ukraine. And it sounds like a conspiracy for me to say, yeah, the US gave Russia the weapon to attack Ukraine with. But they kinda did. The virus that the Russians made on EternalBlue was called NotPetya. And if Wannacry was a poorly made smash and grab, NotPetya was a tactical nuke disguised as a bank heist. It was quite literally a state-sponsored sabotage. US and UK intelligence later confirmed it was the work of Russian military hackers targeting Ukraine. Maybe we should have seen what was to come. NotPetya disguised itself as a different virus. Petya. So focus up with this explanation, cause it might be a little confusing. The original Petya was a ransomware that encrypted files and actually gave them back if you paid. Petya spread via phishing emails, no EternalBlue, so it couldn't connect to every PC on one network. NotPetya was a Russian cyberweapon that pretended to be Petya. It used EternalBlue and it spread like wildfire, irreversibly destroying data. Why disguise a virus as a different virus? Psychological warfare kinda. It was evil but kinda genius. By hiding itself as a less dangerous virus, it would give a false sense of security. Victims thought, if I pay, I will give my files back, which would be the case with Petya. So hospitals and businesses kept PCs online to pay the ransom, letting NotPetya hijack entire networks via EternalBlue. And NotPetya was purely made to destroy files. It didn't actually care about the ransom. Once it infected your PC, it deleted everything. 60% of infections hit Ukrainian banks, government offices and infrastructure. Global companies like Maersk, Merck and FedEx lost 10 billion in rebuilding systems. So yeah, to drive the point home, all of this was NSA's fault. It's their fault for compromising the world's security in order to have an edge in cyber warfare. But one more thing has to be said about the shadow brokers. Not much is known about them, and nothing is known of how they managed to steal from the NSA, but one thing is known for sure. They do not like Donald Trump. Their entire mission was political, as they very openly said they don't like Trump. In 2018, they went dark, and for the time that Biden was president, they stayed true to that. But since Trump is back in office, and this time fucking up more than before, maybe it's time for the shadow brokers to come back. Alright, so this is probably gonna be in the outro now, just post-production director's cut type shit. And you'll probably see me in like, I don't know, in a week. So you'll have a comparison to how long this type of video takes to edit. I mean, I'm currently at like 20 minutes of just pure yapping. All of that has to be overlaid with A-roll, B-roll, bullshit roll, and A-shit roll. But yeah. I'll probably come back in a second as the new me. So it's kind of cool. It's always kind of cool to like see, the time perspective. Like you probably, you know what? I won't shave, and you'll see that legitimately this is how I count my videos time. The time it takes for me to grow like a stubble, that's when the video is done. So, more words from the future me. Jesus Christ, I look like a black condom. Yeah, this is what 100 hours of editing does to a motherfucker. Got some noodles here. If you know, you know. But yeah. Oh fuck, now I'm the average TikTok e-boy. Holy fuck, I look so edgy now. I'm Emperor Palpatine. But yes, my Padawans, you should all subscribe. Did I make myself more mystical and whimsical? Wait. Oh my god, I look so fucking edgy, dude. You know what, fuck it, I'm gonna keep the hood on like this. Hold up, I think I have to do this way. This is what 100 hours of editing does to a motherfucker. Yes, that's how much, I mean, I don't think I'm a slow editor, but it does take me some time, I'm a slow motherfucker. Subscribe if you want to keep up the slope and some documentaries like this, or documentaries, dude. I'm not CBS. Does CBS make documentaries? Hold on. But yeah, that will be, holy fuck, I've been yapping for 6 minutes, even though probably like cut this down to like 30 seconds. Yeah. I have attachment issues. I cannot say goodbye to you guys. I love you so much. No, but as always, I'll see you in the next one, and sleep well if you're sleeping to this, and if you're not, have a good day, and I'll see you because you're gay.